How does a person discern between what is right and wrong rather than going with their instinct? Growing up as a little girl, I was always faced with situations where I was tempted to do wrong when I knew the correct thing to do. I often had many people in my life who taught me my roles in life to do right. Being religious, my mother would constantly remind me that I'm a child of God and that I should do right. My father would often nag me about getting a job or going outside and doing something active to remain positive. At an individual level, sometimes after classes, even though I am tired, I often would ask myself if I should study for this test now or later. At a local level, a common scenario as children was the cookie jar scenario. We would often ask ourselves if we should go to the kitchen and steal a cookie from the cookie jar, even though mom would say no. Starting off in the Lazy Jack story, he was very lazy and his mother had to advise him to go work since they were poor. In the end, he listened to his mother and had the opportunity to become rich. In this situation, it is good that Lazy Jack discerned the voice of his mother telling him to work, because in the end, something positive. This scenario often reminded me of when my mother would often tell me to do chores such as washing the dishes or raking leaves, and I would often listen to her. And Feminitis, the situation is different because he is discerning the voice of good in his mother by obeying all the tasks she gives him, even if he does not perform them correctly. It's important for us to sit down, think, and dig deeper in our thoughts of whether or not it's best for us to listen, whether it's best for us to discern the voice of good or bad, or go with our instincts. But in the end, we all know that listening to the voice of good often helps us. Coming to Maryland has taught me to keep the values my mom has instilled into me, which were to discern the voice of good rather than bad. Because in the end, listening to the voice of good will help us rather than listening to the bad and ruining our futures. Because I grew up in a Christian home, I always like to tie Bible verses to concepts and teaching. In this case, I thought that Hebrews 10:24 tied to this theme because it says, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and to do good works." In this case, I feel like as people, we should encourage others to do good and to discern the voice of good rather than bad.